everything running very smoothly for Glenn Seaton. Last year, of course, you'll remember that the Nissan team had the services of Gary Scott of Queensland. They've settled for their 2 drivers for 1987. Obviously, George Fury in car number 30 and Glenn Seaton in the PJ15 car. And their faith in young Seaton is certainly...
And George is filthy on that one. That's Laurie Nelson in the V8 Mustang, awkwardly getting in the way. He can't really help it because Brock has made the best of this opportunity. Look at him on the outside. Laurie really had nowhere to go through that chicane.
It's a case of watching the mirrors. And there is a great gap between the fast cars here today and the slow cars, make no mistake.
Fury using a Dunlop radial tyre, medium compound, and Brock, of course, using the Bridgestone tyres on the Commodore. And if anything, once he drops out of the slipstream at the back of the Nissan Skyline, he's going to have problems tailing him down this very long straight.
Australia today, an important venue for the opening round of the National Touring Car title because of the debut of the M3 and, of course, the Cosworth Sierra. It gets a lot of favourable reaction in the UK. Your impression so far, Richard?
Well, the M3 is certainly in practice was the car, and of course I think the fact that it's a handling car and it handles so well has been brought out by the wet practice session. Now it's dry. The fact that it's only 2.3 litres is really rather letting it down, and unfortunately it's not able to stay with the big V8s and the turbo Nissans.
And this, of course, is a circuit that should suit the M3 to get onto some of the real speed courses. This is a tight little rink compared to some of the others like Sandown. Alan Grice running second on the road at the moment, behind Glenn Seaton. And Gricey, of course, one of our favourite race cam operators. How's it doing out there, Alan?
Pretty busy, Mark. Pretty hot.
It is a bit warm, but at least you've got a dry track. Is that to your advantage?
Yeah, it is, as long as Bondi stops throwing mud at me.
Gricey, how are your tyres holding out?
Just starting to get a bit squeezy now, but so's the Nissan in front. Just a moment, I'm walking a bit of a tightrope on brake balance. This place is hard on brakes. I'm just starting to get the rears locking up, but I don't want to take too much off the rear and put it on the front.
Yeah, what you're talking about is the brake balance bar at the front of the car.
Yeah, exactly that, Mike. It's very, very difficult to get exactly right all the time, but that's what they pay me for.
Your impressions, you've driven a few circuits over the last couple of years. The tiny Calder rig, how does it rate?
Well, it's so much better than it used to be, but it's still a little bit short, particularly for my sort of car. But it's the same for all of us. This is going to be interesting. He did.
He's not looking.
He's doing his best.
Gricey, you've mellowed.
Oh, shucks. You're just being nice.
I know.
I got a bit of a carburetor hiccup there too. Can you hear that?
Yeah, we're just coming out of the corner.
Yeah, there's the secondaries open on the carburetor, and if I get it all right, the corner all right, I can just go flat on the accelerator.
What are you pulling in top down the straight?
Well, I'm pulling 7 through the gears and about 6.2, 6.3. See the back of the car move around then. That's because I'm prepared to cop that, because at this early stage of the race, I don't want to put too much effort on my front. If there's going to be a charge on towards the end of the race, I want to have good front brakes to do it.
I just noticed something then. When you crest the top of the hill, you have to have a little lift to stop the thing from over-revving.
Yeah, that's right.
Perhaps you'd like to talk our viewers around a lap of Calder Park.
This is all second gear. Actually, I think the risk of being a bit of a party pooper, I going to get a bit serious, Mike. I can see Perkins coming up on me behind.
All right, I might allow you to get back onto it and not interfere with your concentration. We'll check back with you later when the pressure's off a little bit.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, mate. Alan Grice still running second on the road behind Glenn Seaton, but closing on him is Larry Perkins, who seems to be coming from nowhere in this field today in the NZ Connectors Commodore. Into the right-hander. Just a tiny lock up there, heading up T-Mart Hill again. Gricey driving the car that, of course, that carried him to victory in the James Hardy 1000. He's still got a lot of work to do. Castrol, Oils Ain't Oil scoreboard. Glenn Seaton continues to lead. Gricey in second, but closing quickly, Larry Perkins.
Lap 26 of 60, round one of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship. This is the battle for second. And Larry Perkins closing all the time on Alan Grice as they come down the long Calder Park front straight. Glenn Seaton a long way off in the distance at this stage, so it's a battle of the V8s for second and third. And Alan Grice is really going to have to work now and concentrate in keeping Larry Perkins out. Remember that Perkins is the man that has the fastest lap of the circuit so far and has come back from that remarkable off on lap one.
She's done an incredible job in the NZ Connectors Commodore. Going to make life difficult in the next couple of laps for Alan Grice. But if Grice has got a problem or two with tyres going off, Larry would be feeling the pinch equally, I would feel. Peter Brock has made his charge and has now settled back. George Fury sitting back behind these two cars. Down towards Glowweave Corner. We'll have two angles of the challenge by Larry Perkins on Alan Grice. Cameras around the circuit. And, of course, race cam as well as he gets closer and sits in the draft. And there it is as I speak. Dave Thomas and our race cam boys down here today.
Larry getting closer. His best lap time is 61.61. Alan's best time so far is 62.14. That tells something of the story.
Getting close now. Up into the right-hander, then the drag up T-Mart's Hill. Gricey will fight for it.
I made a blue early on saying that this was the Graham Cameron car. This car that Alan's driving is the car that gave him victory in last year's James Hardy 1000. And in an arrangement with Graham Bailey from Gosford, will run the car for season 87. Great shot from race cam as we look at Larry Perkins, white knuckle fever and wide eyes looking through the back of Alan Grice's Commodore.
They come out of Glowweave Corner. Gricey there. Perkins getting very close to him as they run down the straight. Be able to tell now where horsepower comes into play and the drag to the right-hander at the end of the straight. Perkins setting up, and here he goes, swings out down the inside, and Perkins in car number 11 takes Gricey down into the braking area.
Gricey takes a wide entry now, figuring that he might be able to get an advantage on the inside as he comes out, but it doesn't seem to be working for anybody who's tried that today. And Perkins just seems to have that slight advantage with pace. Now that can come from two things. It can either be horsepower or just sheer cornering and handling ability with his car, which comes back to the way that he's set it up and the tyres that he's using. If he's coming out of corners quicker, stands to reason that he's quicker down the straight.
I think it's likely to be a combination of both, to be quite honest. The speed that he's going down the straight and the way that he passed Brock's car and Grice's car, the car has got to be quicker in a straight line.
Larry Perkins, car number 11, courtesy of Nissan Know-How. Stats, of course, on Larry Perkins, 36 years of age, from Melbourne, driving the NZ Connectors Commodore, first in the James Hardy 82, 83, 84, first in the Formula 4, driving to Europe back in 71, first in the 72 Australian Formula 2 Championship, and first in the Australian Rallycross Championship. A versatile lad is Lightning Larry.
Well, he's done a fine job to round up Alan Grice, and he did it very nicely without any problems. And he can now concentrate on the job of working away the back of the lead Nissan. It's going to be a fairly tall order. Glenn Seaton getting towards the braking area of the back straight. I'll give you some indication of that gap. And it is 5.5 seconds. Lap 30 of 60 laps. Halfway through this first round of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship. Next weekend, the action comes to you from Symonds Plains in Tasmania near Launceston. It's likely that anything can happen down there on a completely different type of circuit. Alan Grice told us before on Sevens Race Cam, this is a circuit hard on V8s. Hard because these cars weigh 1,325 kilograms. Right at the moment, they're doing 250 kilometres an hour, and they have to pull them up to a second gear right-hander at the bottom. And if there's anything these cars hate, it's abuse of tyres. The Nissans are making the most of that situation at the moment.
So race leader, Glenn Seaton in car number 15. Doing a great job for the Peter Jackson Nissan Skyline team here today. Coming down the back straight, holding that strong advantage that he's held since the opening lap. He probably has nightmares of that particular corner. Keeping in mind he led the race last year. Corresponding fixture, and looped the car, hit his oil slick patch down there, looped the car. And but then made another remarkable recovery to come back through the field and finish second to Georgie Fury, his teammate. Glenn Seaton.
So behind the three that we've been following, George Fury now in a comfortable fourth position, followed by Brock, then Jim Richards, Andrew Medicki, Tony Longhurst, and then Dick Johnson. And the gap is closing between Seaton and Perkins. We've got a race on our hands, that's for sure.
Richard, you haven't seen the Nissan Skylines in Europe as yet. Look like they'll make a big contribution to the World Touring Car Championship, judging by the form here today. You've seen them at Bathurst, and of course how strongly they went at the Nissan Mobile Series in New Zealand.
They strongly resemble the Volvo in terms of handling, I think, and power output. Where they score over the Volvos, of course, is that the car slips through the air a lot more easily, and so it's a lot quicker in a straight line.
The interesting thing that we were discussing earlier today, Richard, about these cars is that they don't have that great downforce that perhaps the other cars have. And whilst that works in their favour at a circuit like perhaps Calder, when we cast our minds back to last October at the James Hardy, you'll remember how unstable they were across the top of the mountain, and that's something that George was telling us yesterday is a bit of a worry with these cars at this stage.
It is a problem, but then again, when you've got an engine that is perhaps a little bit limited on horsepower, which the Nissan engine is, it's not giving as much power as, say, the big V8s and so on. It would be a disadvantage, I think, to be losing that much speed on the straights at the moment. Obviously, as the car has developed through the years and it's got some sort of future ahead of it, I think, they'll add wings and aerodynamic devices to hold the car down on the road.
Well, car number 15, Peter Jackson, Nissan Skyline. 21-year-old Glenn Seaton. Go, good boy. Castrol, Oils Ain't Oils, bring in the top three. Seaton, the leader. Lightning Larry in second. Gricey running third. Lap 36 of 60, and in the pits after a valiant try today, Peter Brock in 0.5. Really gave it everything, but smoke was pouring out of the car. As Pete says, I gave it my best shot, but obviously an engine problem there. It was starting to emit a lot of blue smoke in the last half lap, and he's just coasted it into the pit area.
It's not been his week, really, has it?
No, not really. Mick Webb, the team manager on the other side of the car, mechanics consulting with but a very relaxed Peter Brock. He knows what it's like to win, and he knows also what it's like, the heartache of giving it your best shot and then having to pull into the pits.
He put up a very, very good performance earlier on, in fact. The way that he came through the field from the start was just amazing. And then moved up very comfortably up the rest of the field, up to fourth place where he was running. And had a good battle with Georgie Fury as well.
Talking about good battles, car number 17 is Dick Johnson in the Shell Ultra High Ford Cosworth Sierra. And of course, trying out for us today our new mini race cam that you'll be able to see pictures of the international touring car events. There's Dick with the small little unit just perched over his shoulder. And a new feeling for Dick. Got the front row, but got shuffled back in that almighty charge to the first right-hander. The one consolation is the car will be as strong at the finish of the race as it was at the start.
I reckon he might be a bit disappointed with the way things are going at the moment, but time will tell. I mean, we're only just a little over halfway, coming up towards 2/3 of the way through the race, and if the tyres and so on are in good shape towards the end, he could well come through and pick up some more places yet. Sierra Cosworth makes that wispy noise from the 16-valve engine with the turbocharger tagged onto it. Takes all the rort out of the engine noise. And you notice the difference between Gricey and Johnson there. Johnson much more smooth.
So Dickie Johnson continues running about 8th in the field at this moment. There's our race leader, Glenn Seaton, in car number 15, but as you can see, closing right up behind him is Larry Perkins in car number 11, the NZ Connectors Commodore. And Larry has just sprung from nowhere, stormed through the traffic after looking so good in the first corner. And he's also been able to pick up the other challenges in the race as well. I refer to Alan Grice and, of course, George Fury. So they've closed this one up appreciably.
Well, after watching Perkins in practice, this doesn't come quite as much of a surprise as it might be. All the testing and so on that he's put in is obviously paying off now. And when I was asked earlier on about it, I thought that he'd be the man for the race.
OK, let's go down to the pits. Neil Crompton.
Thanks very much, Mike. Well, the situation, of course, you saw Peter Brock coming to the pit area in the 05 Mobile Dealer Team car. He had some problems during the week that we all know about, and he came from a long way back on the grid. And Brocky, you carved them up in the early stint, but unfortunately things went wrong towards the end.
Yeah, very happy off the grid. I was having a ball there for a few laps, but the new experimental Bridgestones we're using weren't quite right. We had no chance of testing them. They've got new ones on the way. I'm quite sure they'll be great. But that was going for it. I revved it up extremely high, and well, it's certainly something was very much amiss there before.
Wasn't it go? Any idea?
No idea. I think it'd be the top end of the motor. I don't think it's a lubrication problem.
Do we expect to see you at Simmons next weekend?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, and I hope Gary and I will both be down there. We'll both be a lot wiser because of this experience this weekend. We know what compounds to run. We know. I mean, well, the cars were going pretty good. Let's face it. Early on there, I was sort of being pretty close to the lead. I was pretty happy.
You said yesterday in the press conference that you were going to sit down and discuss Gary's future last night. Did you do that, and have you come up with a future for him?
Yes, we have. We're planning that Gary will be down there on Thursday. Tyre testing, new tyres in from Bridgestones being dropped down to the workshop tomorrow. And we hope to really get to grips with the chassis development part of the car. We think we're on the right track. Obviously, our cars were, we can see how fast it was early in the race, really.
OK, Pete, let you get back to it. Thanks for talking to us. Peter Brock out of round 1 of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship, but obviously at this stage not a spent force, and we'll see him later. Mike.